Today we've got a keg cooler, beer walk-in, that is not working right. It's about 48 degrees. Let's take a look at the back side. I got a very deteriorated coil, very old. Looks like the serial number says 1993, so definitely gotten life out of this thing. So basically we got to start on the roof. The temperature controller's calling. So this is my walk-in right here. It says beer walk-in. That's the culprit. Condenser fan motor's not running, so we're gonna get in there and see what we can find. Yeah, this compressor's hotter than dirt. Condenser fan motor's not running. Condenser fan motor's locked up. For sure. Let's find the breaker for that guy. Luckily, there's a big fat part number right there. Local supplier has it in stock. I'm gonna go ahead and go pick one up. Fan blade's in decent shape, so I don't see a problem with that. Motor's hotter than dirt and it was locked up. So we're definitely going to talk to the customer about some potential equipment replacements, because this is an old R22 system. It's the original condensing unit, original evaporator. The compressor's been replaced once before, but that's about it. And the compressor looks like it was replaced in 2004 from the serial number on top. So we're going to try to change this. Again, it's kind of one of those things where this thing is so hot, we're going to be lucky if we don't have bad discharge valves. But there's not a whole lot I can do right now. Because we have such high pressure and the compressor's so hot, I don't even want to run it. So we're just going to go ahead and go pick up a condenser fan motor, and then when I get back, before I put the motor in, I'll put my gauges on it and see. Oh, I guess, you know what, I'll just put my gauges on it real quick. It's not going to tell me a whole lot because I don't want to run it any longer. I just don't want to potentially, I mean, I know that we're going to have compressor damage, but if we can get by until we can replace this equipment, that's what I want to try to do. So going against everything I just said, I turned it on. And we do have pressure differential, so the valves are somewhat still there. I don't doubt that we've damaged it though. But I'm going to go ahead and try to replace the fan motor and see if that'll get us by until we can do an equipment replacement. So we got the fan motor changed out. Pressures have pretty much equalized out in the system. The R is my box temp. I'm using the Fieldpiece job link probes with the new manifold. That's my outdoor air temp, 72 degrees. What's interesting is while I'm up here, I could hear that this fan motor is bad too. So we'll have to change that. And this one, I might be hearing a noise from this too, I don't know. Or it might just be off on fan cycle. So I've got my amp clamp on there. We're gonna go ahead and fire this guy up. And we're allowed to run 1 amp. Let it run for a little bit. We'll see if we can get this thing to operate. I already know we're gonna talk to them about changing this equipment, but I'm trying to get it working so I don't have to change a condenser and an evaporator today. So we're gonna let it run for a bit. I shut everything else off so I can hear myself think. We're under amps. The unit's allowed to run 1.0 amps. And we're at 0.77. It's going in the right direction. We've got a cold suction line. Refrigerant pressures are coming down in temperature. We're gonna watch the box drop in temp. Like I said, I've got my psychrometer hooked up downstairs, so this R right here is my return air temp. So I can already, it's going to be hard for me to show you guys this. This has one of these old school flare sight glasses and it is flashing. So we're going to let it operate for a few minutes, and then if it's still flashing, we'll top off the charge also. So we are pretty much down to temp inside the box, 38 degrees. And what we're going to do is a pump down test. I've got the low pressure control bypass by putting a screwdriver under the bellows. We've got the suction service valve right here. We're going to loosen the packing. You always want to loosen the packing before you do those on a receiver or any other kind of valve. And we are going to completely front seat the valve. We are going to watch our pressures. On these older compressors, you cannot do this on a scroll, but on these older compressors, we should pull down to -15, no problem. And we're struggling. It should have already been down by now. I'm pretty confident. Well, I know we have a suction valve in here. That's bad because earlier I couldn't capture it on camera, but I could hear the compressor bypassing internally when we had high pressure. Okay, so it should have already pulled down by now. I know that much. So what we're gonna do, it's actually not even low enough. We're just gonna shut it off. Okay, and the pressure should not rise that fast. It's okay to rise slowly, but not that fast. The suction valve inside, whether it be the reed on it or what, is internally leaking and it's weak. I have a feeling we have a bad discharge valve too. There's like a little, well, you guys know how a compressor works. So it's internally bypassing. So we're gonna come down in temp and it's gonna be okay temporarily, but we are gonna talk to him about equipment replacement. So I'm gonna go ahead and backseat this valve all the way back out and then just crack it so that way we have pressure on the valve. Okay, now it's cracked, and then we got to make sure we close that packing back down because these things do leak. Doesn't got to be like super tight, just snug. Okay, so our box is down to temp, but we've got a weak suction valve. This will get the customer by. We're still flashing on the sight glass. It's hard for you guys to see. I'm gonna go ahead and clear that up, and then we're gonna go ahead and quote some new equipment for these guys. And the compressor doesn't sound very healthy either. It's definitely got some stress going on, but it'll get them by for now. So, like I already said, at the same time, I heard this one, the condenser fan motor sounded really bad, so I went and picked up a condenser fan motor for this, so I'm gonna replace this too. You know, I've mentioned this before, but I'm not a fan of using headphones when you're working. I really don't think you should because you miss out on other stuff, but it can also be a safety issue too. So while I was working on this, I could hear the compressor up top. You know, I could hear a problem with it just because I'm used to the sounds, and what it was running really hard because the condenser fan motor had failed. So, you know, that's one of those things where, in my opinion, you really shouldn't be using headphones when you're working because you should always be able to listen to everything around you. You still got to use your senses. All right, so at this point, the customer had approved the equipment replacement. So we had ordered all the equipment and I had it sitting in my shop, and then I got another emergency service call on the equipment, and you're going to see right now. So this kind of seems like a bad dream. This is a Saturday night overtime service call. We've got a bad condenser fan motor. So let's see what we can do. Compressor's red hot. Okay, this is going to be some Frankenstein stuff right now. So because this equipment was already spec'd for replacement, I happen to have it in the shop. I don't really want to change the whole condensing unit tonight if I don't have to. So I'm going to try to steal this shroud and motor off of here and make it work temporarily. So we're just going to disconnect it. It kind of matches up. Height-wise, it matches perfect. Width-wise, it's a little shallow, but I think I can make it work. So we're going to take off this whole shroud and you'll see. What are the odds I get that condensing unit shroud to fit on there? So what I did was temporarily put on the shroud from the new condensing unit onto that guy. Make sure it's not overamping, and we're going to watch this guy come down in temp. Sight glass is clearing up. It's an old school sight glass. Right here. We're gonna let it run for a little while. Here's the old motor. And I had just changed that motor recently too, so there's something going on here. I'm gonna check to make sure we're getting a proper 208 volts to that motor, but so we're in, it's running, still coming down in temp, so we're looking good so far. Looks like our compressor's okay. Like I said, I know it has a weak valve, weak suction valve, but this will get us by. New condenser fan motor for now. And I checked the condenser fan motor voltage, it's 207, so we'll come back out and change this condensing unit. We're gonna change the evaporator coil too, so. All right, so this was some really old equipment. We had a service call in the beer walk, and you obviously saw that we had the original call where I had a bad condenser fan motor and then diagnosed the system to have a weak compressor. Convinced the customer, or submitted a quote to the customer to go ahead and change out the equipment and upgrade it, and they approved it. And then I got that emergency service call before I could get back out to replace it. and found that the condenser fan motor that I had just replaced had already gone bad again. So obviously something was going on there. So because I already had the equipment ordered, I took the entire condensing unit out to the job with me, thinking I was thinking the worst, that the compressor finally took a dump or what. But it was just kind of a trip. I had the idea of taking off that fan shroud and temporarily putting it on. Now, once I put that fan shroud on, the unit was up and running and it got it going again. So we'll have the replacement video coming here soon where you guys will see what we did. But that fan shroud got me by until I could get back out and replace all the equipment. I really appreciate you guys taking the time to watch these videos. And that's pretty much it on this one. I will catch you guys on the next one, okay?